Hello, everybody. Today is Friday, July 31st. This is the COPS office hours. I am your moderator, facilitator, Justin Santa Barbara. I work at Google. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be put on the internet, and to please be mindful of our code of conduct, which is essentially to be a good person. And in particular, as we have a lot of items on the agenda, to please add items to the agenda, and we'll try to follow them. Try to follow that agenda. I did paste a link to the agenda in the chat. So if you do have items, please just put them on there, and it can be very helpful for people watching the YouTube video to put your name on the attendees list if you feel like doing so. Otherwise, I put in a new section this week, which is a review of action items from last time, which is sort of gradually becoming very formal. But we did have a bunch of open items last time, where I had a bunch of open items last time. I don't know if other people did, but I thought it'd be good to call them out and say where they were, and that might take care of some of the other ones, or it might be a good introduction to some of the other ones, because I think some of them are not resolved. But I will go through mine, and if anyone else has any others, please do add them on the list, and we can go through those. But I did manage to do the 1.19.0 Alpha 2 release in the nick of time. So this morning, a couple of hours ago. And that was built using our new release process, which I did send a PR for, the hands-off or lights-off release process. And so those binaries are being built by the Prow trusted cluster, which calls into Google Cloud Build. And I guess technically those binaries did go through my machine. I think maybe we could make it that they don't even have to do that, but people can validate the SHAs by looking at the promotion artifacts, and the image promotion, assuming it, or when it happens, will be automatic. I don't know if that actually happened yet. And then the binary artifact promotion will in future be automatic, but it's not yet automated. But it's described by the automated manifest, which we will be using. So the process is a little complicated right now because of sort of having to maintain both systems, but I think we can start to see it. The biggest unresolved pain point is the need to tag. And I was trying to think of that. If anyone has any nice ideas about ways to, we can't pull request a tag directly, but I don't know whether we could pull request a file which creates a tag using a bot or something like that. If anyone has seen anything like that, please let me know, or speak up or comment somewhere. All right, there was a, Peter, I think you were doing the 119 bump, and I think there was an issue with logger, and we managed to get a compatibility fix merged into that, which fixed, I guess I will strike through the blocker and replace, which was the/a, and now will just be a blocker. So now there's another blocker on API machinery, it looks like. Do you want to talk a little bit about that or not?
Just that I'm stuck on it.
Okay.
Could use some additional eyes.
I can certainly have a look as well. And another action item was some of our CI jobs some of our new CI jobs were not working. These are the ones that we're actually going to work towards being able to test some of the some of the release branches, so that we could get those under more of our E2E, have greater E2E coverage on those release branches. We have great coverage, I'd say, on the master branch, and less great coverage on the older branches. And so this is doing that, and that merged. And I think this morning, Peter, did you approve that? I can't remember who approved it, but yeah, so I added sorry, Mike approved it. Thank you, Mike. I added 118 to our grid, and so we should have that COPS 118 in the set of permutations that are going to be tested, and we'll see how that goes. And oh yeah, the naming, sorry, there's a lot here. The naming of manifests. I brought it up with Sig Cluster Lifecycle in our meeting. There is a pattern in the KK repository that is followed, which is effectively name-architecture. So kube-API server-AMD64, and then the tag. There is also a kube API server and then just the tag multi or fat manifest, it's sometimes called, or multi-arch manifest. I haven't found where that's actually created yet, at least for the case of kubeAPI server. I suggest we can talk about that later, but that's sort of where we are. But it seems like that's on the agenda. Ahmed, I see you've put that on the agenda for later, so we can talk about that. We can talk about it there. We can talk about it now. I don't know.
So I did something for etcd manager. I added a small change to your PR that does exactly that. For Docker Hub, when you push something, it automatically creates the repo if there's none. So registry, sorry. So,
yes.
But I don't know how it is in Kubernetes world, if you need to pre-create it with the infra team, or we need...
We don't need to pre-create that. We might pre-create one level up, I think, but so for example, with GCRIO, your top level is your GCP project. That has to be pre-created. Anything you can, with GCR, it seems like they all have different rules. With GCR, you can go as deep as you want. You can nest as deep as you want, and they don't have to be pre-created.
One thing I noticed during the last few days is that even though multi-arch images with Go binaries work with distroless, distroless itself, it's AMD 64. So not sure exactly if that's okay or not.
It's okay for the, so I looked at this topic because I also went down this path. I think the way people work around it is they use the static distroless, where everything is like there are no binaries in the static distroless. There are no libraries. Rather than using the C one, I think it is, which includes libc, which would be Arch specific.
I think static still has a few things. So there's base and static. One is very plain, and the other has at least the certificates.
Yes, but certificates, that is not the certificates package should, I don't know. I assume the certificates, anyway, yes, that's what other people have done. And also KK has produced, I think it's called Go Runner, where they do have they use that as the base for other ones. And that, I think it's for other reasons around logging, but we can look at reusing their image or building an equivalent.
Okay, so in theory, it works. I managed to start them as they are, but wanted for you to know that it's not exactly perfect from this point of view.
I think you are holding yourself to a higher standard than everyone else is, so I think it's...
It's okay. I'm not.
I think it's what everyone else is doing, so I think it's fine. I haven't figured out how to do the multi-arch manifest, but I don't know if it matters. I don't know if you need it.
I doubt you will find a way to do it with Bazel unless you want to rewrite that thing. There are two ways from that I noticed. One is using Docker manifest command, which I think it still needs the Docker backend, which is annoying. But there is a manifest tool created by one of the guys that contributes to Docker and Containerd. And I've seen it used in various projects, like Calico, for example. So that's a standalone tool that it's written in Go, so we could just use that to create the manifest. It's just the last thing. We pre-create the images with Bazel, we push them, and that thing only creates the manifest in the main registry.
It's also occurred to me, I can bring up with the working group Kate's Infra who do this promoter, bot, the promoter robot that actually copies this, will copy these images from our staging GCR into kates.gcr.io. I can ask them how they are, whether they support these manifests and how they are thinking about it. It might be that we do it at that level, and it might be that they have to do some work there, but maybe we can also get, I like, the challenge that I saw, the challenge that I encountered personally with the Docker approach was that you have to push the images first before you can use Docker manifest, it seemed.
Yes,
I couldn't figure out.
it is.
Yeah, but that's a little awkward for like the whole like hands-off process. So that's why I was like, maybe the working group Gates Infra has an idea there, so I can ask them.
Well, we have to push anyway the images in their Dash architecture repos, so that's not really a huge thing. We just have to run the command for manifest last. But yeah, that's I saw something about the promoter in how do you say, Nginx Ingress. There was some announcement these days that they are starting to use it. So they already use multi-arch. So I can take a look there also.
That's a great lead. Thank you for that. Yeah,
No problem.
that'd be great.
Thank you.
And then oh, someone pasted a link, which is great. Thank you. Which I presume is going to be to how it is done. Yes, I couldn't find how it's done for like Kube API server. Was what I was sort of looking for. I found it for Go Runner and for a couple of other random ones, but like I could not find Kube API server, which was surprising to me. And that's why I was wondering whether it was done as part of the release process. Hackman, you have one more review of action items from last time, 9661.
That I will for discussing what flag to disable a certain task. I just created it. So if anyone wants to provide some feedback, the main issues was NTP service. Some people don't want to install what we want. And the easiest thing would be to just have a flag like skip install is in Docker to disable it. But for me, skip install is not really great flag. So maybe we can standardize on some name that we can use for this and maybe some other. So if you want to provide some feedback there with possible names, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. Are there any other action items from last time, or we can go into the new items discussion section? All right, let's go in. Hackman, you had the first one, which was, I think, to approve the kops maintainers. I did. You shamed me into doing so.
Okay, thank you.
That's done. Yeah, sorry, I did not get there. So, John, you have the next item about node labels.
Yeah, so I have a PR out which changes the way that kops controller labels our nodes, takes it from the COD labels. However, some of the labels we have for nodes have empty values, so it needs to revert 9519 since that broke COD labels with empty values. So I don't know how to get that moved forward.
I don't have a ton of context here. I'm trying to open the PRs. I don't know if
Yeah.
Could we skip the ones with empty? Like, can we skip the ones with empty values? Is sort of what I'm wondering. Yeah, it's
then we wouldn't have them labeled.
okay.
And those are kind of key ones. Yeah, there's apparently a AWS is working on a fix, but I think until we get the fix, we should probably take out 9519.
That's fine with me.
Okay. Sorry, that's, I mean, it's great, Peter, to say thank you for that. Did 9519 ship in?
No.
Cool.
Okay.
Sounds good then. If Peter's agreed, if it Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, so the next one is I want to reduce the lifetime of the exported keeping credentials from 87,600 hours to 18. And some people don't like 18. So try to figure out how to proceed with that PR. I think one suggestion was an environment variable for the default.
Yes, I think the other thing, which I don't know if you saw my comment about this, what GKE does is
A credential helper or credential plugin. That's a good idea. I'm not sure it belongs in this particular PR, but it could work.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it would.
Is it a toolbox command?
Because essentially,
what is it?
It would probably be a toolbox command. Like effectively, once we go down to 18 hours, we're effectively already dependent on kops being installed at that point anyway. We could probably have like if we did this and it was widespread, we could end up having like a smaller command that we could optionally ship, but excuse me, shared code. I think it's unrelated, but I have noticed that some of the workflows are harder now that we don't export kubeconfig by default. I think that was a surprise to me, but that is not related to what you're proposing here, right? You're essentially saying we would just make it safer to export kubeconfig type thing.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think Ivan, you may have said something. I don't know if that was accidental or deliberate.
No, that was accidental. Sorry.
Okay. Sure. So where are we on this?
So I just need what I need to do to merge it. So is it add an environment variable? Is it figure out the whole credential plugin?
So I also think that the principle is okay. I am not really sure about the duration. So the way the PR is written seems pretty good. Someone that wants a different thing can find other ways. I'm not sure that 18 hours as the default is okay. I understand that we want more security and some people want it, but I'm not sure the majority want it that secure. So if I would want security, I would choose 18 hours as you did for sure. But if I just want to play with kops, then this is really annoying. So maybe others have feedback on that part.
I agree. My biggest issue is the time. If that were configurable, I would feel a lot better.
Configurable, but the problem is
the default, you're saying?
Yes. So if I'm a security, let's say, expert, or I want security, for sure I would know to say admin equals 18 hours. But if I am just starting with kops, I may find it more annoying to stay and decide how many 1,000 hours I want to put. That's the reality. A beginner would say 1,000 or something hours there.
I mean, you could easily switch it so that it's configurable to the current number, and then we can decide in another PR what we actually reduce it down to. That is, I mean, that could be one way to break it down, right?
Well, I do think the current number is kind of ridiculous.
I'm not disagreeing. Totally.
So
I just think that there's a lot of people out there that probably do rely on those credentials in terrible ways. They probably won't admit it, but.
And they have a way to create them. They just have to say 87,000 hours.
If we had the credential helper, what would we do? in terms of the durations, like if you did and did not use that credential helper?
I mean, I still think it should be around, it should be less than a day.
Well, I mean, yeah, with the credential helper, it can go, I mean, my expectation is if you had a credential helper, we would go, like, it wouldn't, the only way you would notice that your credentials had expired would be that it would take a little longer to do a kubectl command.
That assumes you always have access to your bucket, which you might not.
Unless you, yes, unless you, I mean, we're chaining off your AWS credentials in this case. And so, yes, but then that's, I think that's a feature, right? Like oh, you mean like if you're on an airplane or something?
Well, let's think if you use MFA or something like that, but.
Yeah, so we sort of get that. That seems nice, right? I don't know, but yeah, so we could go pretty low, is what I'm thinking. We can debate the nuances there. Yeah. I guess the question is if for people that want to like create a long-lasting kube config, what would we do for people that didn't want to have the rotation, the helper, I guess.
Yeah, because right now you can say -admin, 100 hours or.
What about if I look into the helper? I think the helper could be really interesting. I also want to.
Okay.
And then we can decide next time. Does that work?
Okay.
I also think if you wanted to put it in, like I think we talked. I don't know whether it's in this PR or a different PR. If you wanted to put it in the kops configuration file, I think that would be like perfect, so that then you could go down as low as you wanted to. But I think it's also a valid thing to do. I don't want to not have the discussion about reducing that duration. But yeah, if you wanted to get this in today, you could like leave it where it is and have it be sourceable also from the configuration file, and then you'd be fine.
I can wait 2 weeks, but
okay, cool. Yeah, I think the one thing I wanted to ask was the OIDC setup, I guess, would be, or someone mentioned using OIDC as their like here. I don't know if we should, like if we're building a plugin that can enable the admin credential to be rotated. So this would essentially be your kubeconfig. I don't know if everyone has used GKE or one of the other providers that does this, but your kubeconfig has an exec entry, and it would have, it's basically a command that is executed in order to get the token, I think, that is then passed. And so that command can do anything, and it basically caches a token with an expiration time and produces it back on demand. And so your experience is basically you have a short-lived token on disk, and whatever security your command uses is what determines the like the vulnerability or otherwise of your config. I guess my question is like, how does that match or mesh with what people do with OIDC and admin credentials? And like, it feels like there are three things going on. There's this plugin notion, there's this reduction of duration, and there's the kubeconfig not being exported by default. And like, maybe we can make them all, maybe they are all interrelated.
I think generally if you're using OIDC or some other credential helper, you generally don't keep the kubeconfig credential around.
Not even for the admin?
No. Not it would be a break glass, and you would probably, if you need to break glass, you would export it.
Export it. That makes sense. Does that match with how other people are other people using OIDC or other providers like the AWS IAM one? And does that match with how people are doing things?
Yeah, we use OIDC for everything except for break glass. But we use that initial credential to bootstrap additional parts of it.
Okay, well, I'm going to try writing a credential helper, see how hard it is, and like see if we can like generally make the auth experience better. Like in general, like I think underpinning this is a general dissatisfaction with the idea that like there's this admin kube config which is sitting in a file that even 18 hours is too long for some people. Like for some people, it sounds like the duration is like as long as it takes to run the kubectl apply immediately afterwards or something like that, right? It's not necessarily a great setup in general, but we also, I don't know if there's a what authentication system are people using? Is it generally OIDC or otherwise? OIDC? Is anyone not using OIDC?
Yeah, we have a plain text password to LDAP that it's kind of annoying.
Okay, but you still log in as a.
Still log in as yourself. It's just you have to do it once per cluster.
And how?
And the token lasts for a day.
But you don't present. You still so you do an LDAP exchange and then you get a token from something, or how does that? Like,
Yeah, well, we have a credential helper. You run kubectl. It prompts you for user ID and password.
okay.
Gets a token, installs that in your kubeconfig, and then you're done for the day for that cluster.
So you have a service that will vend a Kubernetes, a Kubernetes token, and it's a private custom developed thing. That's cool. Okay. That's a nice thing. I like that.
I would prefer one that keyed off of SSH, so I don't have to type my password.
Well, if you have the source code, but yes, that's a cool idea as well. The SSH thing. Anyway, yes, I'm going to write a small credential helper. I'm going to resist the urge to write an entire auth system, but understanding what people are using. Are people using the AWS IAM Authenticator, which I believe some people are? Yeah, okay, good. And John, your token is a JWT token, right? You're not setting up OIDC from the point of view of Kubernetes.
Yeah, I think it's JWT. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember exactly.
But yeah, I'm not sure either. That's fair. But yes, so either OIDC, IAM Authenticator, or a token that is generated by some out-of-band process. Okay. Thank you for that. That's helpful. All right, I will look at that. I will do an AI for next time, and we will review the AI at the beginning of the next meeting.
Okay, so I have a PR for rotating the service account signing key. So this adds 2 new keys, a next and a previous for the service account key, and try to figure out how to move that one forward, because we currently have this concept of subkeys, but they're I think they're date stamped or numbered, and it can't tell which one's which.
Yeah, they aren't. I don't think there's any way to know which one's which at all. Like currently, I think that was my. I think that was my feedback. Is like, could we add some field to give you what you're looking for?
Yeah, the other way is it's also you can't reference
names.
them from the API, so I have to add that in. Because you can identify the key, but not the subkey when you're saying, give me a private key.
You mean from our internal kops API?
The key store thing, whatever it is.
Key store, or the other one that's misnamed. Yes. Yes. I think that was intended to be deliberate. That might be a misdesign, in that like it was supposed to just like give you the right one, but perhaps that is a misdesign.
So yeah, I could add an ID and then extend that API so that you can ask for a particular one.
Like a validity, yes.
Just a subkey.
Or a sequence, yeah. To me, that was how I imagined the API being used. So it was like sort of like a shock to see the, not shock, but it's like this, whatever the word is, to see it like a suggestion that it was not perfect, but it was like that we wanted to do names again. I think there were challenges with using like lists and things, but I think we've overcome them. And also
okay, I can play with fixing the API to support subkeys. I'll have to see what that means.
Thank you. That would make me very happy, and it would certainly make my I'd certainly be very like understanding of how that works. I'd better understand how that works. So that would be wonderful to see. And then if it doesn't work, we can just be like, yeah, John is right.
Okay.
The next item is from Mazzy89, hooks on Bastion instance groups.
Yeah, guys, it's me. Thanks for picking up this. Yes, this is pretty old. The time there, it's, I believe, 2018. So really like 2 years old. It was left aside, I believe, because there were other different priorities. I would like to pick up this again. I'm not sure if anyone is working on this. If the author of the PR is still around, so I don't want to step on the feet of other people. So before, I would like to ask if there are any concerns about this.
I think the author of the previous PR has left, and let it be and pick it up. Feel free.
Yeah, sure. Justin, there was a discussion there. You pushed there. I believe there was a decision to take if we want. I don't recall now. Can you?
Yes, I think I was a little wondering whether we were going to change behavior on people, which I think I was suggesting that it would be okay as long as we did it on a minor release boundary, i.e. 120 or something, and put a clear release note. I think that's reasonable. I think I asked about the use case. I'd like to hear, are you able to share your use case?
Yes, definitely. Well, actually, the use case is exactly the one that you depicted. You were describing VPN tool is exactly the same one. My use case is pretty simple. We would like to spin up WireGuard, the tail scale, or whatever, into the Bastion host. So basically, VPN tooling.
That seems reasonable. Yes. I think the other option is that you can create a specialized node pool to do so, and do it in more in Kubernetes, which could be better in some ways, could be worse in some ways. But yes, I think if you wanted to do it, I don't think we should block it. I think the other one is like SSH, some sort of SSH credential agent thing is another one that I've heard sometimes. Which I guess is Tailscale, right?
Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I will pick it up, and starting from that, I will not create another PR. I will just resume the work and sit. Yeah,
that's Cryptophobia has signed the CLA, so that's fine to do. You don't have to start again.
Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. That would be great. Cyprian Hackman, about not block waiting for NAT gateways.
There were some tasks in the cloud part that were blocking. For example, the NAT gateway was having a message saying that it would take up to 5 minutes. Based on my chat with John in a PR, I removed that. We added something like try again later error. So that doesn't print a warning. It just keeps the task and tries again in 10 seconds. This reduced drastically the time for the NAT gateway scenario. But I'm not sure if it breaks anything at some point. So wanted people to be aware that some of the tasks don't wait for it something to be created. It just skips over, and when that resource is ready, moves on with the creation. But maybe some timing issues there that I couldn't see before the PR. I didn't notice anything in the last 3 days in automated tests, but better for people to know about this and provide feedback if needed.
sorry. Yes, I think the two questions I would have is, do we know why we did it? Like, I don't remember why, but I remember we did it for a reason. And do we know why it speeds it up? I guess is the other one. The other question.
There are errors when you create. So there are things like the IAM. Don't remember what the other stuff is, and not gateway, where you want to create a dependent resource and you just get an error. So you can either wait for it to be ready or ignore it and try again later. The problem is that waiting for it to be ready means exactly to wait for it to provide service. And in this case, we don't care if it provides service. We just want to be able to create the dependent resources without triggering an error.
Excellent explanation. Thank you. Yes, that makes a ton of sense. So there's like there's an intermediate stage before the full readiness stage, and we only have to wait for that first one. But yes, that makes a ton of sense. And you added some form of non-terminal error to the current retry.
It wasn't terminal in the past either. It just retries for 10 minutes. The problem was that I don't want to, let's say, pollute the output with errors that later come in chat. Like we have one that's pretty much very often, once every week or 2 weeks. Why is the CNI not ready on nodes? People look at ProtoCube logs and see that ProtoCube is waiting for CNI to be initialized, and they think that's actually the error that's preventing their cluster from coming up. But that's just, I don't know, something that happens with every node, even if it works or not.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. That sounds like a great, and thank you for calling attention to it, because yeah, it's definitely one worth watching, but it sounds like it makes a ton of sense. We're getting some, wow, I think it was, yeah, okay. I was just saying we're getting a feedback loop, but I think I will just be sure to mute in between. Next item on the agenda, sorry, I've actually lost the agenda. Next item on the agenda is Peter, an RFC on E2E coverage.
So right now we use a E2E runner called kubetest that's in the test infra repo. The owners of that have declared that it's in maintenance mode and accepting bug fixes only. They have a kubetest 2 also in test infra. And I'm wondering if we should reevaluate how we're doing our E2E tests so that we can add additional functionality like testing rolling updates or upgrades or other stuff that I mentioned in the issue. So if anyone has any opinions about that, it'd be great to hear them.
Thank you for bringing this up. Yeah, it'd be wonderful to see a test like you're describing. I do think it sounds like we should, if we can get it into our repo, that's wonderful. I don't think we should take on the ownership of kubetest just yet, so we should start. Yeah, okay, good. But I will certainly review this issue. I think it's, like I did do something with Jupyter in the past. I don't know whether it's the right answer or not. It didn't feel like, I don't know, I could also bring that up a little bit more and get that into a more runnable state. We don't have to have, we can try 1 or 2 things if we want and see how we feel. But I do like very much the meta idea of getting at least one test going that lives in the kops repo and test a scenario that's not necessarily covered otherwise. That sounds great. Any other views or people comments?
I'm not familiar with Jupyter. I just like to know what it gives us, to pick up a different language framework. But
yes, my thoughts. So the idea of the Jupyter interactive environment basically let you see like command and response very clearly. It also meant that the output you got, so you can run a Jupyter notebook, and the output you get is the same as if you had run it directly. And so you can sort of move between the two worlds. And if you do it a little bit carefully, you can have it be that you take a notebook that is an execution of a test run, rerun it locally, tweak it, and sort of like understand what happened and like maybe fix it, or that sort of thing. So that was sort of what I was going for. It was sort of trying to understand the output from kubetest is very difficult, and it's like a different workflow to fix a test than it is to write a test and understand. Like it was like a more homogeneous workflow, but I haven't pursued it a lot myself, and I'm not sure I've convinced myself, but that's what I was going for. I think there would be a lot of advantages also from doing tests in Go without the full Jinko framework, and some of the frameworks that's currently in our EDE test stuff has certainly built up over the years to the point where it's not necessarily particularly easy to understand, and you would get many of those advantages by just having the test be like Go test runnable. So if you can Go test, like, I think it's Go test, just Go test, but not Go test run. If you can just run the Go test rather than having to do a whole bunch of compilation of an EDE thing that you then run a certain way, I feel like we'd have some of the advantages that I just described there without having to switch languages. Sounds like everyone is in favor of the idea, and we're mostly just debating mechanisms.
Yep. The next item was me. It's been a long time since I've last shown this at office hours, but I updated our release delay graph for our most recent few miners, so you can see that we're improving.
We are indeed. That looks good. The alpha delay has gone negative. That's funny. Like, I think that's what we wanted, right? We wanted the alpha delay to be, we wanted alphas to be available at release time, or yeah, we wanted alphas or betas to be available at release time, and then stable to be when it is stable. The 119 Kubernetes release is looking like it may have a longer period until it achieves stability. There are a couple of things that are looming, like they did a very recent update to Kubernetes to Go 115, which also includes a new certificate validation thing. So we're gonna have to deal with that. Essentially the CN common name field is no longer accepted as a host name, or perhaps the other way around. The host name will no longer match against the CN field. It has to be in the subject's alternate names, which apparently is technically to spec, but not reality, or sure, not reality today. Anyway, we might put up a new record on the stable delay for 119. We'll see, but yes, we can at least get a beta out.
Need to turn that 118 line blue.
That's a great topic. Is that actually our next topic? It is. Yeah, thank you for doing that graph, Peter. That's really awesome. And thank you to everyone that's been driving that line down, as it were, I guess. Down is better. On that topic, John, do you want to do the next one then?
Well, let's get 118 out. I think we're ready.
Yeah, I think I said I was going to do it last time and didn't actually do it. I don't know if there are any blockers that anyone is aware of. Otherwise, I think it is time. This one will be, the last of the old release process, as it were. Well, unless we decide we don't like the new release process. But this will be on the old release process.
Yeah, I think the only thing remaining there is something that I said that I wouldn't do, and I still did it. It's the VXLAN disable patch, but for 186 for 118.6 plus. So not sure if it was tested by one of the guys that was active with that issue. So I said that I would like to leave the decision to you if you think that's okay or not. Oh, it will be just in the patch release, but I don't insist. So that's all that I know for 118 remaining. Everything else is in. So I think
There was an open PR, right?
yeah, you can just.
We're just going to find a link to it. Yeah.
Is the only one remaining in 118.
How do people feel?
I think the risk has been managed as well as it can. It's just, do we want to take it the day before release?
Our crowd jobs are already testing the lack of workaround, right?
With the PR merged, effectively?
It's running this way in 119.
Including against Kubernetes 118.
Yes, I think so. In your tests in the grid, right?
And I think your tests, but yes. But yes,
I think, actually, I think the network plugin ones run against 118 anyway. We did it because 119 is not very stable and the networking things break all the time. So wanted to run tests against stable. So with 119 not yet released, most tests are running against 118 anyway.
And there's no way for a user to tweak this, right? There's no environment variable or future flag or anything like that. This is take it or leave it type behavior.
You mean in 118 or 119?
Specifically in 118.
In 118, it's hard coded. If your if your Kubernetes version is higher than 118.6, it is disabled. So as the Kubernetes team says that the issue is fixed. You're not confident.
I think we have excellent test coverage in kops. So
there is also one more thing. If the workaround is disabled, there is a workaround with a hook in the issue. So someone can just add a hook or something, and I don't remember exactly how it was done, but can be enabled in instance group.
You said you asked about 119 versus 118. Is there a different behavior in 119? It's just not there, right?
Yeah.
Or how does it work in 119?
It's not there.
Master. Yeah. So this applies to canal and flannel in backend. Oh, sorry. I was reading this. It applies to canal or flannel in VXLAN mode.
Yep.
How do people that use one of those two options feel about, or is there anyone here that uses one of those two options? Okay.
So I know that at some point, Kashif asked me to remove it. So when he saw the PR in master, he's using.
I think if we had an yeah, sorry, go on.
He's using Canal. That's what I wanted to say.
I'd feel more comfortable if there was an override, like if the users, because we don't really have an override of any sort. I don't necessarily want to do another flag, but like, I don't know.
No, that's a bit too much for this issue.
Seems like we have one user and they want it out, so, or one user that has reported this and they want it out, so. Let's.
Anyway,
really know,
let's discuss about the rest of 118. If you're not
Okay.
confident about this, we can just close it, or I don't know, edit for .1 at some point. But anyway, anyone, any objections about 118 being released or thoughts?
That's good. So it's just this one last topic. From that point of view, I feel like it does feel like more risk. I feel like we could do a flag or something so that people that do want it could be able to turn it off. This is in Node app, so we have to plummet through a long way.
Yeah, so that's why, and it would delay the release. If we
do the, go on, sorry.
Yeah, so from my point of view, if you could just press the button to release it now, would be perfect. So that's what I mean. So unless you're saying that the plan is to release it at some later time, then I would prefer to add the flag in, let's say, .1 version.
So in other words, not merge this PR, but have a flag in a future version.
If you think that the flag is needed, I don't have a strong opinion on how to address it. The flag would disappear anyway in 119. So anyway we do it, it goes away. I wouldn't use it in 119 just to keep it compatible, let's say.
So yes, if you're okay with us not merging it and we can add a flag if we need it, that makes sense to me in terms of getting the release out and not taking on the risk. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay. I would be most comfortable with that. I sounds like other people would be as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. And thank you for doing the PR, even though, and for being like, you know, accepting that we might not want to merge. Yeah.
We're discussing 10 minutes about it.
No, but it's good because like it's an important decision, and I think it's good. I think it's actually interesting to think about, like, next time this happens, we should think about how we are going to, next time there is a workaround that we expect to go away, we should think about how we're going to get rid of the workaround, as it were, right? Like, we should maybe make people opt into, I don't know if we need to think about that anyway. So I think that's a good,
maybe like some feature flags per component.
Yeah, we should definitely figure it out for next. We'll learn it for next time. So if we are basically good to go on 118.0. That is great news, and we are almost at the top of the hour. We have seconds to go. I don't know if anyone wants to have any last topics. Otherwise, I wish everyone a very happy 2 weeks, and keep your eyes peeled for 118.0 landing probably tomorrow-ish.
Ooh. Very cool. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great one.
Thanks, Uru.
Bye bye.